The rain hammered against the windows of our small apartment in Seattle, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alaric, a 43-year-old software engineer, had always considered myself a logical man, a man of data and facts. But the data I was now facing was anything but logical. It was a chaotic mess of emotions, lies, and a betrayal so profound it threatened to unravel the very fabric of my existence. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A change in Bront, my wife of 15 years. We had met in college, two awkward souls drawn together by a shared love of old movies and quiet nights. Over the years, we built a life, a comfortable routine of work, dinners, and the occasional weekend getaway. We weren't the most exciting couple, but we were happy, or so I thought. Bront, a dedicated nurse, had always been the more outgoing one, the social butterfly who effortlessly made friends. I, on the other hand, was content with my small circle of colleagues and online gaming buddies. But lately, even Bront's natural effervescence seemed strained. She was distant, preoccupied, her usual warmth replaced by a cool politeness. She started working late more often, claiming the hospital was short-staffed. I didn't question it, I trusted her implicitly. But then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations in the next room, hushed voices that stopped abruptly when I entered. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to work stress, but a nagging unease began to creep into my mind. The first real red flag was the perfume. Bront had always worn a light floral scent that I loved, but suddenly there was a new fragrance, a musky, almost aggressive scent that clung to her clothes. When I asked her about it, she dismissed it as a sample she'd received at work. But something felt off, terribly wrong. One Saturday morning, Bront told me she had to go in for an extra shift. I offered to make her lunch, but she declined, saying she'd grab something at the hospital cafeteria. As she left, I felt a pang of loneliness, a yearning for the closeness we used to share. I decided to surprise her at work, bring her flowers, and maybe suggest dinner out. I arrived at the hospital, flowers in hand, and asked the receptionist for Bront. The receptionist, a young woman with kind eyes, looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Bront called in sick today, sir," she said. "She said she had a terrible migraine." My heart lurched. Bront never called in sick, and she certainly wouldn't lie about it. A cold dread washed over me, a premonition of something awful. I thanked the receptionist and stumbled out of the hospital, the flowers suddenly heavy in my hand. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I needed to clear my head to make sense of the swirling chaos in my mind. I drove aimlessly for hours, the rain blurring the city lights. Finally, I found myself at a small coffee shop near the waterfront. I sat there, nursing a cup of coffee, trying to piece together the fragments of the past few weeks. The perfume, the late nights, the phone calls, the lie about being sick. It all pointed to one horrifying conclusion: Bront was having an affair. The thought hit me like a physical blow, stealing my breath and leaving me gasping for air. I couldn't believe it. Bront, my Bront, the woman I had loved and trusted for 15 years, it was impossible, and yet the evidence was overwhelming. I sat there, paralyzed by disbelief and a crushing sense of betrayal. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. I couldn't imagine facing her, hearing the lies, seeing the guilt in her eyes. But I couldn't live with the uncertainty, the gnawing suspicion that was slowly eating me alive. I drove home, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The apartment was dark and quiet. I found Bront asleep in our bed, her face serene and peaceful. I stood there for a long time, watching her, my heart aching with a pain I had never known. How could she do this to me? How could she betray our love, our life together? I woke her gently, my voice barely a whisper. "Bront," I said, "we need to talk." Stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She looked at me, her expression a mixture of confusion and annoyance. "Alaric, what are you doing home? I thought you were working late." "I went to the hospital to surprise you," I said, my voice flat. "The receptionist told me you called in sick." Her eyes widened and I saw a flicker of fear in them. "Oh," she stammered. "Yes, I wasn't feeling well." "Bront, please," I said, my voice breaking. "Don't lie to me. I know about the perfume, the phone calls, the late nights. I know you're having an affair." Her face crumpled and tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't deny it. "Alaric, I am so sorry," she whispered. It just happened," I repeated, my voice rising. "What does that even mean? How can you just throw away 15 years like that?" She started to cry, her body shaking with sobs. "I don't know," she said. "I'm confused. I'm not happy, not happy," I said, my voice laced with bitterness. "And you thought the best way to solve that was to cheat on me, to lie to me, to destroy everything we've built together." She didn't answer. She just sat there, crying, her silence a deafening confirmation of her guilt. I spent the next few days in a daze, moving through the motions of life without feeling anything. I went to work, I ate, I slept, but I was just a shell, a hollow echo of my former self. Brant moved out, taking only her clothes and a few personal belongings. She didn't try to fight it, didn't try to explain. She just left, leaving me alone in the wreckage of our shattered life. I tried to understand what had gone wrong, where we had lost our way. Had I been too complacent, too focused on my work? Had I failed to give her the attention and affection she needed? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the fault lay with her, not me. She had made a choice, a conscious decision to betray our vows, our love, our life together. I knew I couldn't stay in Seattle. The apartment, the city, everything reminded me of Brant, of the life we had shared, of the future that was now gone. I decided to move back to my hometown, a small coastal town in Oregon where I had grown up. I needed to be near my family, to reconnect with my roots, to find a new sense of purpose. The move was difficult, emotionally and logistically. I had to sell the apartment, pack up my belongings, and say goodbye to my friends and colleagues. But as I drove south, leaving Seattle behind, I felt a sense of liberation, a feeling that I was finally taking control of my life. In Oregon, I found a small cottage overlooking the ocean. The sound of the waves was soothing, the fresh air invigorating. I spent my days exploring the coastline, hiking in the mountains, and reconnecting with old friends. Slowly, gradually, I began to heal. One day, I received a phone call from a mutual friend, Cadence. She told me that Brant had left her affair partner, a doctor named Silas, and was now trying to get back into the hospital. "She's telling everyone how much she regrets what she did," Cadence said. "She says she made a terrible mistake." I felt a pang of satisfaction, a sense that justice had been served. But I also felt a twinge of sadness for Brant. She had thrown away everything for a fleeting moment of passion, and now she was paying the price. I didn't hate her, but I couldn't forgive her. The trust was broken, the damage irreparable. I decided to move on with my life, to find happiness and fulfillment on my own terms. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter, spending my free time caring for abandoned and neglected animals. It was therapeutic, a way to give back to the community and to find solace in the unconditional love of animals. One afternoon, while walking along the beach, I met a woman named Delphine. She was an artist, a free spirit with a kind heart and a warm smile. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her infectious energy and her genuine interest in my life. We started spending time together, exploring the local art galleries, hiking in the mountains, and sharing our stories. I told her about Brant, about the betrayal and the heartbreak. She listened patiently, offering words of comfort and support. She didn't judge me, didn't try to minimize my pain. She just listened and understood. Over time, Delphine and I grew closer. I found myself falling in love with her kindness, her creativity, and her unwavering optimism. She helped me to see that I was worthy of love, that I deserved to be happy. One evening, as we sat on the beach watching the sunset, I turned to Delphine and took her hand. "Delphine," I said, my voice trembling with emotion, "I love you. Will you marry me?" She looked at me, her eyes shining with tears. "Yes, Alaric," she said. "I will marry you." We were married the following spring in a small ceremony on the beach, surrounded by our closest friends and family. It was the happiest day of my life. I had found love again, a love that was true, honest, and unconditional. Brant's betrayal had been a devastating blow, a wound that had taken a long time to heal. But it had also been a catalyst for change, a turning point in my life. It had forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to rediscover my strength, and to open my heart to new possibilities. I learned that love is not a guarantee, that trust can be broken, and that sometimes the people we love the most are capable of hurting us the deepest. But I also learned that we are resilient, that we can overcome adversity, and that we can find happiness again, even after the most profound loss. I never spoke to Braun again. I didn't need to. I had moved on, found peace, and created a new life for myself, a life filled with love, joy, and gratitude. And in the end, that was the best revenge of all. Years passed, and the memory of Bront faded, replaced by the warmth and security of my life with Delphine. We built a beautiful life together, filled with love, laughter, and adventure. We traveled the world, explored new cultures, and created memories that would last a lifetime. One day, I received an unexpected email from Saylas, Bront's former affair partner. He was writing to apologize for his role in the affair and to inform me that Bront was seriously ill. She had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and was not expected to live much longer. He explained that Bront had asked him to reach out to me, to convey her deepest regrets and to ask for my forgiveness. He included a letter from Bront in which she poured out her heart, confessing her remorse and acknowledging the pain she had caused me. I read the letter with a mixture of emotions, sadness, pity, and a lingering sense of anger. But as I reflected on the past, I realized that I had already forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. Holding on to resentment would only poison my own happiness, and I refused to let her continue to have that power over me. I didn't respond to the email. I didn't feel the need to. Bront had made her choices and I had made mine. Her life was her own and mine was mine. I had found peace and happiness, and I wasn't going to let anything, not even her death, disrupt that. I continued to live my life with Delphine, cherishing every moment we had together. We grew old together, our love deepening with each passing year. We faced challenges and celebrated triumphs, always supporting each other, always holding each other close. In the end, I realized that Bront's betrayal had been a gift, a painful but necessary lesson that had ultimately led me to a life of greater happiness and fulfillment. It had taught me the importance of self-love, the power of forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. And so I lived my life to the fullest, grateful for every day, every moment, every breath. I had been betrayed, heartbroken, and lost, but I had also found love, peace, and a new sense of purpose. And that, I knew, was a victory worth celebrating.